Well, what else should we talk about? Let's talk about your history a little bit. When we talked on the phone yesterday, and I started to give you directions, and then, oh, I'm an old Cass Corridor man.
Right.
Tell us about your memories and your times in the Cass Corridor.
Oh, there were great ones. I came down here. Of course, I got out of the army. We're talking. I guess it's history now for so many people, but it's like experience for me. What were you doing in 1962, Judy?
What was I doing? Let's see, I was 9 years old.
You were 9. Okay.
Yeah, going to school.
So I had just gotten out of the Army a year or two before, and I ended up going to work for the Detroit Board of Education down first in the old Maccabees School Center building, but then I moved down to Stimson Street. There was a building called the Clay Building down there, an old schoolhouse, one-room schoolhouse, or five-room schoolhouse. And I worked for the Board of Ed there and the Great Cities School Improvement Project, which was a project designed to foster effective means of educating kids who weren't middle-class kids. Because somebody had come up with the observation that the way we took kids who were essentially middle class in values and parents, and we were pretty good at educating them, but we couldn't work with kids who were from Appalachia or from the Deep South, minorities and so on, very effectively. So we had programs, and that's where Head Start came from, among others. That's probably the best known program to come out of the Detroit School Improvement Project. But while I was there, I was working at places like the Alcove Bar, which is no longer there, the one where the Lone Ranger and Tonto used to hang out.
I think it's still a bar, though. It's
And
just
it was
got a different
owned
name.
by a guy named Big Al,
Yeah?
who periodically, when I had a good night, would say to me, "Hey, Charlie, I gotta send you out to Vegas. I got a friend named Tomato Face help you out there." And I'd say, "Gee, thanks a lot." See myself as a lounge act in Vegas, right? On my way.
Managed
So-
by Tomato Face.
But there were a lot of good times. That was when the living end was here, just a few blocks north and west of here, off the lodge, and the Chessmate, of course, and then the Raven, which was out in suburbia, out in Birmingham. And there were people here, just an amazing number of folks, all the time. I can remember that was when I was back in the days when I imported my wife from Canada, and we had a gathering, the Joni and Chuck Mitchell gatherings, where people like Bruce Langhorne and Eric Anderson would hang out with us, and Dave Van Ronk stayed there. Who am I trying to say? Oh, help me out. I wanted to say Tom Paxton, but that's wrong. You know, big
Rush?
Tom Rush, thank you. Tom Rush's lung collapsed while he was climbing the 5 flights of stairs to our 5th floor walk-up, and he had himself operated on at Sinai Hospital.
Oh, my.
And convalesced, and gave up smoking cigars at that time. Let's see, what else? I remember hearing Gordon Lightfoot brought his new single over for people to listen to, and it happened that he and Dave Van Ronk and Jack Elliott, Ramblin' Jack Elliott, were all in town one night working various clubs or just passing through, and there was a place around the corner from us, on the corner of, what's the street north of Ferry? Somebody yell it through the radio. Palmer. Corner of Palmer and Cass, there was a place called the Piccadilly, which was a bar. And it was frequented by a lot of people, retired and older folks who lived in the hotel on the corner of Woodward and Palmer. I've forgotten the name of that. But Jack Elliott was standing there in his cowboy hat with his real thick glasses that he wore, and a great big huge Mackinac with a fur collar. And Dave Van Ronk was sitting there with me, and we were drinking shots in a pitcher. And I've forgotten. I think Lightfoot was there, and there were people playing pool and stuff. And Jack Elliott was just sort of standing in the middle of the room, musing the way he did, and just looking unusual for this part of town. And who should stroll in but a little old lady who was, I think, considerably, several sheets to the wind. And she walked in, and she looked up at this man standing in the middle of the bar, and she said, because of his dress, she said, "Sing me a song, cowboy." And he looked down at her. And this is Jack. I mean, spur of the moment Jack Elliott. He looked down at her for a while. And the pool table, they racked up, and there was a pause. All of a sudden, how the room will go silent and noisy room. The jukebox ran down suddenly, and Jack launched into, "When I was a lad, and old Shep was a pup, over fields and the meadows we'd roam. and it was, or Stray it was, and he sang Old Shep, wonderful song. And the song isn't that long, and he just sang it through. Everybody listened. There was silence in that place. And at the end of the song, the lady was still looking up at this strange apparition in the middle of this bar in downtown Detroit. There were 2 tracks of tears coursing down each side of her face as she listened to the song. And Jack finished, and he smiled that funny little crooked smile of his. And somebody racked up the balls and broke the... started a new pool game, and somebody fed the jukebox, and the whole thing went on. And Van Ronk and I just sat there like, this is an event which will never occur again on this earth, I swear. And that's what, that was a sort of a reminiscence of those days. It was really a very pleasant time in Detroit.
What a wonderful story.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
sharing
I
it.
almost launched into, when I was a lad and old Shep was a pup.
Why don't you launch into something? Yeah,
Okay.
Something that might remind you of those days. We've got that moment now, and let's keep it for a second.
Let's see. Oh, my. Yeah. I played around and I've stayed around this old town too long. Summer's surely gone, winter's coming on. I played around and I stayed around this old town too long, and I feel like I gotta travel on. There's a lonesome freight at 608 rolling through the town, rolling through this town. I be homeward bound. Lonesome freight at 608 rolling through this town, and I feel like I gotta travel on. Don't you know the paparazzi Johnny, he can't come home. Johnny, he can't come home. Lord, he can't come home. Paparazzi Johnny can't come home. He has been on that chain gang too long. Lord, I played around and I stayed around this old town too long. Summer's almost gone, winter's coming on. I played around and I stayed around this old town too long. Feel like I gotta travel on. Whoa, yeah. We used to sing stuff like that, sitting on our stools throughout the city. That was when Phil Esser was working bars, and Ronnie Coden and me and Bob Potion. We'd all sing songs from the Brothers Four and the Kingston Trio and Joan Baez, and just sing and sing and sing. It was like being sort of like an Android jukebox, but it was an easy kind of level energy output where you'd sing tunes like that. And The train pulled out and the whistle blew with a low and a lonesome sound. She's gone, what can I do? And left me here alone. You put a whole lot of sentiment into these tunes. In fact, I listen to some of the things that I used to do. I've been reviewing old tapes, and I think, my goodness, what an innocent I had to be in order to sing that song with such feeling.
No experience, but a lot of feeling.
Oh, dear, yes. In fact, as soon as you acquire the experience, you realize how, to some degree at least, superficial these songs are. That one I don't consider superficial. That's a nice, moving along song.
Yeah.
But some of them were, at least when sung by innocent, blue-eyed, wasp-type, aspiring folk singers. You know, it's like, it's very difficult to sing the songs of the people if you've never had those experiences, but you try, you know. You get a vicarious kick out of doing it, I guess. And evidently your audience does too, because they all say, nod their heads and say, yeah, right.
Breaking into tears, genuinely grateful. It's just wonderful. I have earned awards for salvaging and restoring old houses, but I have never earned an award for being Chuck from Keokuk, the Wandering Troubadour. And as you already know from being told, my first gig out of town, I went home. I've always had a lantern. I mean, I've always felt it's important to share light with other people. But quite to my own surprise, and I think possibly to her surprise, although one night on a cold November night around 1967, in that fifth floor walk-up where we lived in Detroit, she said, "Charlie, I'm going to be a star and I don't know what the hell to do about it." So 50 years ago, I married a floodlight. Sometimes it's a little hard to show the world, you know, your own little light that you carry around with you. Or as Woody Guthrie said, I think back through my life to the people I owe. Yes. I mean, not just the ones I owe in person, but everybody. The amount that we owe, that's all we have. And so it goes that we have these ties. And I have heard a storm of words in me. But I know these words are not my own private property. I borrow them from you, the people I owe. I borrowed them from you the same as I walked through the high winds and borrowed enough air to keep me moving. I borrowed my life from the works of your lives, and then I went on and I walked my road, and you went on and you walked yours. And the weathers, winds, snow, sleets, ices, and hailstones took down the oat straw, beat through your car tops, knocked holes in shingles, and went through awnings, but they never separated our works. Your works and my works held hands, and our memories never did separate. That's what Woody had to say. And if you get to be as ancient as I am, here's what Tom Paxton had to say. And I suspect sometime this past year you've had reason to think the same thing. He was a man and a friend always. We rambled round in the hard old days. He never cared to know if I had no dough. We rambled round in the rain and snow. Here's to you, my rambling boy. May all your rambling bring you joy. That's what I want. Here's to you, my rambling boy. May all of your rambling bring you joy. In Detroit town, we chanced to stray. Well, we thought we would try a little work one day. So the boss said he had room for one. Said my rambling pal, hey buddy, we'd rather bomb. So here's to you, my rambling boy. May all of your rambling bring you joy. Here's to you, my rambling boy. May all of your rambling bring you joy. Late one night in a jungle camp, all the weather it was cold and damp. He got the chill, God, he got up bad. I lost the only good friend I had. Here's to you, my rambling boy. May all of your ramblings bring you joy. Here's to you, my rambling boy. May all of your ramblings bring you joy. He left me here and I'm rambling on. My rambling pal, he is dead, he is gone. If when we die, we go somewhere, bet you darling, he's just a rambling there. I'll fare you well, my rambling boy. May all of your ramblings bring you joy. Fare you well, my rambling boy. May all of your ramblings bring you joy. Detroit town. Okay, let's go far afield. For the greatest love song in all the world, I know some of you know the greatest love song in all the world. Some of you think you wrote the greatest love song. And that may be true, but there ain't no way you're going to get by 8 tons of love. A bold hippopotamus was standing one day by the banks of the cool Shalimar, and he gazed at the bottom as it peacefully lay by the light of the evening star. And away on the hillside sat, combing her hair, his fair hippopotami. That hippopotamus was no ignoramus, and sang her this sweet serenade. Mud, mud, glorious mud, nothing's quite like it for soothing the blood. So follow me, down to the hollow, and there let us wallow in glorious mud. That is optional. I'd like the chorus, but you can try it anyway. It's a great way to cover for that meal we just had. The fair hippopotama he aimed to entice from her seat on the hillside above, since she had not got a law to give her advice. Come tippy-toeing down to her love. Tippy-tippy-toe, like thunder the forest re-echoed the sound of the song that they sang when they met. Come to me, my roly-poly. His inamorata adjusted her garter and lifted her voice in duet. Second chance, everybody. Mud, mud, glorious mud. Mud, mud, glorious mud. Be passionate. Nothing's quite like it for soothing the blood. So follow me, follow, down to the hollow, and there let us wallow in glorious mud. No more hippopotamus began to convene on the banks of that river so wide. Well, there you are. And I wonder now, what am I to say of the scene that ensued on the Shalimar side? They dived all at once with an ear-splitting splash. On three, big splash on three. 1, 2, 3, splash! Oh, you can do better than that. 4, 5, 6, splash! Then rose to the surface again. A regular army of hippopotamus, oh, singing this haunting refrain. Mud, mud, glorious mud. Come on, hippies, and nothing's quite like it for soothing the blood. So follow me, follow, down to the hollow, and there let us wallow in glorious mud. Oh, it's time to wrap it up. Take it from letter B, the big production ending. Are you ready? Follow me, follow, down to the hollow, and there let us wallow in glorious. Take a breath if you need a breath. Glorious, find a harmony. Glorious.
This is a homegrown love song. Beat up, body up, body up. Hop, 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 bum. If good times were thin times, I'd share a whole handful with you. Just like two kids on Main Street, turned loose on Main Street Saturday afternoon, nothing to do. But that's old hat, that celluloid collar, even though 10 dimes, still make $1. Some people are funny, they like folded money. Maybe my silver jingle's just small change to you. If odd gifts could make shifts in contrary minds, I would send you the following notable finds. Some napkin rings, silver spoon, a matching set of pet raccoons, a bottle of bath salts, a case of Jack Daniels, a framed oil painting of 2 Cocker Spaniels, a sassafras whistle, a Vesuvius light, a genuine Chinese dragon kite, some ginseng tea, a dancing flea in tiny tights and tutu with a tiny symphony performing Clair de Lune upon the cat that played the fiddle for the cow that jumped over the moon. Whoa! If odd gifts could make shifts in otherwise contrary minds. Beat up and body up, bodily bop bop. If new loves were gray doves with soft-colored feathers, I would invite you to my place, babe. We could fly there together. I've had my fun collecting things like 12-bar blues and one-night flings. I've had my share of stormy weather, motorcycles and chains and leather. I got just one more line to change your contrary mind. Come on, darling. If good times were thin dimes, I'd share a whole lifetime with you. If my dreams were moonbeams, I could light up your garden. I know it sounds incredible, but if fantasies were edible, I'd get chubby just thinking of you.